Good morning and welcome. My name is Helen Jennings. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator and I am based here in the UK. And welcome on this February Friday morning to this live, and equally welcome if you are watching it on catch up any other month of the year and any other day of the year. So do pop on and say hello, do leave comments, do like, share, follow, all of those things. I do very much appreciate all of that. And hopefully we're going to spend the next hour doing a bit of crafting together and exploring some of the Stampin' Up products that we have that are current, and this particular bundle of products is current in our mini catalogue, in our January to June mini catalogue. We are now into the very last days of celebration. Celebration will finish on Monday. So if you are interested in shopping and earning yourself some free product, for every £45 you spend, you will be able to choose something for free from the celebration catalogue. If you are interested in gathering together very quickly, ordering a whole lot of things to gather together with a few people. You could order a whole bundle of kits perhaps to get together and host an event. If you have an order going in that is 100 and no, that's not true. Let me get my brochure. 250, I think it is. Was it 275? Let's have a look. In order to host 275, so if you place an order that's £275 or more here in the UK, or a whole little group of you do that, then you will be able to claim the free Calming Camellia stamp set, as well as all the other benefits that you would normally get when you shop with Stampin' Up. And of course, if you would like to join the Stampin' Up family, then there is no better time. If you join before the end of next Monday, before, well, let's say 10 o'clock in the evening, you will be able to claim 2 free stamp sets of your choice, as well as the usual £99 for your starter kit, and choose £130 worth of product. So you always get a bargain when you join the family. But at the moment, if you do that before the end of Monday, not only will you get £130 worth of product for your £99 fee for your starter kit, you will also get 2 additional stamp sets. So and obviously you would go through all the current catalogues and you would choose the 2 stamp sets on your wish list that cost the most and get the most order and the most benefit out of that, the most value out of that. So you've got, as I say, until the end of Monday to do all of those things, to shop, to host, or to join. So yeah, don't miss out on that, because hours will really be ticking away by the time we come back on Monday. And obviously, if you have any questions about any of that and you're living here in the UK, do reach out to me and I will do my best to answer those questions for you and to help you with your shopping, your hosting, or your joining. But for now, let us bring in our other camera. So this is me, www.Love-a-Duckie.co.uk. That is my website where you'll find inspiration, links to shops, links to tutorial bundles you can buy, all of those sorts of things you will find. Lots to find over on my website. And if you're hunting for me anywhere on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or Pinterest, then you will find me under Love-a-Duckie. So do go and hunt that out as well. It's lovely to socially share with you wherever that is. So on, well, it was Wednesday actually, it wasn't Monday. On Wednesday, we started to have a bit of a look at this Heart and Home suite, and it's really pretty sweet. Some quite muted colours, but that are really pretty. So we've got this colour palette of pale papaya, garden green, misty moonlight, fresh freesia, cinnamon cider, and basic grey in these really pretty flowers. We have 2 bundles in here. We have the Blessings of Home bundle, which is this stamp set and dies here, which is what we played with on Monday. And we have the Honeybee Home bundle, which, as the name suggests, contains quite a few bees, and that's what we're going to be playing with today. We have some matte dots, we have some ribbon, we have an embossing folder, and I don't think I actually showed you the embossing folder on Monday. We have some doilies, there is a Memory and More cards pack, and some cards and card bases and envelopes in the same suite of products that you can get. I don't have those currently to show you, but they are really pretty. I have had them through my hands as they've gone on their way out as a bingo prize, but they are really pretty. And this lovely paper, which contains, as well as these lovely patterns, floral patterns and things, also contains quite a lot of wood grain, which is always useful. So here's the two bundles. This is the one the stamp set that we used on Monday. And we created a really pretty card to do, like that little scrapbook page just there. That's rather sweet. And then we have the Honeybee Home bundle, and that's what we're going to be playing with today. So without further ado, let's bring those things in. So we have a Honeybee Home stamp that contains sort of 3 floral stamped images. You've got this tall one here, you've got like this spiky little flower here, and then you've got this little row of blossoms just here. And there are dies in the die set that cuts all 3 of those out. You have 3 little bees in various sort of flying directions and things that are really useful, and again you have dies that will cut those out. And then you've got this really lovely font on this sentiment. You can make one with the baby. Yes, such happy news. So glad we're family. Miss you. Stay wonderful. You're the nicest. I actually did use this stamp set to make a engagement card for my daughter with the such happy news, obviously. Not so glad we're family. I hope she knows that. But yeah, so you've got these lovely sentiments. I do love this font. It's like a handwritten sort of font, really lovely. So they are really pretty cards, quite vintagey in feel. Yeah. And as I say, you've got these dies, and in addition you've also got a couple of dies. So this one will cut you out sort of a florally type image. You've got this really useful one here that cuts you out like a grass. Here's another flowery one. So yeah, so those are 3 extra dies that you can add in. And then the Hive 3D embossing folder, and that's probably not going to pick up very well on there. Let's see if the piece of cardstock behind it will help a little bit. Not ever so well. You do get actually the ring light does give you quite a nice picture. There we go. That sort of honeycomb effect. And as I say, this is a 3D embossing folder, so it does give you a nice deep honeycomb effect, which is really quite nice for playing with, and we are going to be using that today as well. So I thought for my first card, and I think we will probably make 2 today, we got so carried away with watercolouring on Monday that we actually only made 1 card in the end. But I've grabbed out a couple of the papers. So this really pretty floral one here, which hi Angie. That reminds me, your card arrived yesterday and I was going to bring it through. Thank you so much. That was beautiful. Angie sent me a beautiful card yesterday, and my husband said, oh, you've had some post, something from Australia. And it indeed was a card from Angie, and Angie would like to know what's on my dice. And I will sort that out for you later, Angie. In fact, I might even do a blog post about it and link you in so that you've got somewhere to go back to see exactly what I've got on my my dice that we sometimes shake to create a card. So look out for that. But yes, so thank you very much for the lovely card. It's always lovely to get greetings and things like that. In fact, it's still in the other room where I opened it. I'll perhaps bring it through and make sure that I can show everybody on Monday. But yeah, so we've got some cinnamon cider and some pale papaya cardstock to go with this lovely floral paper. And I've picked out this paper as well, which is cinnamon cider, but it's got all these bees on it. I think it's really cute. And I've picked out one of the doilies, and I've got a cinnamon cider doily there. And we're also going to have a bit of a play with the embossing folder. I'm going to build up some layers on this card. Just grab some white cardstock. Excuse me while I rummage around. I'm going to take a piece of I'm going to go 14.4 and we will go, I'm going to go 6. I can always trim it down if I need to. So I've got a piece of basic white there that is 14.4 long by 6 centimeters wide, and I am actually going to emboss this piece of card. So let's pop that in our embossing folder. Line it up a bit. And obviously this is a 3D embossing folder. So we are going to need our base plate number 1 and our embossing plate number 4 to emboss this piece. Run that through. And here we have our embossed piece of card. So if you turn it that way, those little hexagons are sort of sticking up, but this way they're sticking in, and it's quite a nice sort of, it has got a real sort of grungy feel, this embossing folder. Then they're not precisely sort of accurate and all precisely the same size and shape, so there is a natural feel to it, which obviously honeycomb does have. It's not going to be, you know, exactly precise and each one the same shape and the same size and those sorts of things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a blending brush. Which one am I going to use? That one, I think. I'm going to take my cinnamon cider ink. I'm just going to come in, and this is going to make this pop now. Let's come in and add some ink to that, and I think I'm going to purposely make it darker in some places than in others. Sort of have a bit of a gradient on it. Let's come in a little bit darker at that top. So it isn't uniformly dark all the way over, but that's really made that embossing pop now, the fact that we've added some ink to it. So that was cinnamon cider. And let's come in. Decisions. I can't decide whether to go for the darker card base or the lighter one. And do I want a lighter one with a bit of a dark matte? Or shall we go darker one? We'll go darker one with a bit of a lighter matte. So let's take a piece of cinnamon cider cardstock and we'll chop this in half. So obviously around about 14.9. In order to be exactly in half, it needs to be 14.85. So I tend to think of it as a slight smidge under 14.9. But if you do 14.9, that will be absolutely fine. The other half will be 14.8. It's not going to make 1 millimetre. It's not going to make a whole world of difference. So we've scored that in half at 10.5 and folded that. So we've got a card base there. Let's come in with a piece of pale papaya, and we'll make this 14.4. And we will make it by 10. So that will give us a mat for the top there. Then I'm thinking a piece of this DSP here. Just check my paper, make sure I've not got a smaller piece of that will do the job I want. I've got a smaller piece of that will do the job I want. Now I don't know whether I want we go with I think actually I want a whole piece of that. So excuse me while my brain is ticking. I'm going to take a whole piece of this. I'm going to make this 13.9 by 9.5. Piece of this paper that's going to come across at the center a bit, I think. So let's make that we'll go with 8.5 by 8.5, and we might change our mind. It's quite nice playing around with DSPs and building up layers. And now this beehive strip needs to be narrower, but I did always think that might be the case, but I'm going to tear it. For those of you that don't like tearing paper, apologies. I want it to be a bit grungy coming down the centre there, but I am also going to come back in with my brush. And actually, because it's got this deep embossing on it, it does tear quite nicely. You don't get this sort of straight line necessarily with it. It almost comes around the side of the honeycomb pieces as it tears down. So we'll have that coming down the centre there. I think that there. And we'll have our doily on the top here. And then we're going to look at some bits to come on the top here. So let's just pop that to one side for a minute and bring in our stamp set. And because on the background paper we've got this long stamp here coloured with those pale papaya flowers, that is what we will go for. Now I'm going to stamp it in garden green, I think, so that we've got the colouring on our stem and leaves. Very dark. Does my garden green need re-inking? I think perhaps it is getting to that stage. I use my blender pen and pick up some ink just to colour in these leaves. And that round here. And down here. So that's added some green to those leaves. Now, how shall we add colour to our flowers? Actually bring in my Stampin' Right marker. And we'll add some colour. Not very often we use Stampin' Right markers. So these are the pens that we have that contain the same ink as the ink pads. You can use these because they are a water-based ink. You can use them to colour direct to your stamps to stamp with. Something that you can't do with the stamping blends. Well, you can do with the stamping blends, but all that you will find is that you've coloured your stamp rather than got a stamped image, because they are permanent alcohol-based pens. They don't stay wet enough to transfer the image to your card. They just colour your stamp. So if you want pretty coloured stamps, then use your stamping blends. If you want to do the inking direct to stamp technique, then you want your water-based Stampin' Right markers. So this one obviously is the pale papaya. And because the ink is water-based as well as the flower, you will get a little bit of sort of blending of the two colours. You can also use these inks to watercolour with. You could have just added in a little bit of colour and dragged it out with our blender pens. That would work as well. So all of those sorts of techniques that you do with your ink pads, to say this is the same ink, same sort of properties. I think with the arrival of the blender pens, we don't tend to use them quite so much. Stamping right markers, because on the one end you have this sort of brush tip that I'm using here to colour, and on the other end you've got a fine tip that you can write with. Okay, so those are those. A hedgehog, oh yes, do love that hedgehog. Right, let's bring in our die. So here's our die that will cut these out for us. But before I cut those, actually, I think we are going to need a bee, aren't we? I don't think we can do this without a bee. What should we have? I think we'll have this little bee here. To be or not to be? That is the question. Right, we're definitely going to be. Let's pop him on a block, and I think we will stamp him in black. We'll come back in with that pen. And add in a bit of yellow, avoiding his wings, obviously. Perhaps add a bit of shimmery or something to his wings. Okay, let's find our bee. So the die looks quite bizarre. It looks like, I don't know, like a little flying aardvark. But it is actually the die that's going to cut that bee. So let's cut these bits out. Just to turn my machine round. My bee has moved to be. Certainly right for not anchoring them down, really. Let's move our little flying aardvark. Bring that through. Actually, as I've done this last one, I'm just going to reach down and find a little oddment of garden green. I'm going to take this grassy dye here and cut some grass as well. Let's pop that down there. Line that back up. Oh. There we go. Grass and run it back through and cut 2 bits of grass, I think, just a good measure. So here we have 2 of these die cut grasses. They're really lovely, quite delicate. Great addition to lots of your cards, not just when you're creating honeybees. Right, where's that doily gone? There it is. We have a bit of a play with these and how we want these to go. Do some arranging on those in a minute. What shall we have? I think we'll have a Stay Wonderful greeting. Bring in this little bit of basic white. And a bee block, I think. That's it's very appropriate, isn't it? Having a bee block. And let's go cinnamon cider. Will that fit in? Yes, it will. It will fit in our little oval punch just there. So we'll have a pale papaya. Scalloped oval. Need to do something to help that little bee pop a little bit more. And to bring in a watercolour pencil, I've got a have a balmy blue watercolour pencil. And I'm just going to very softly add a bit of balmy blue to his wings. Just helps give those a little bit of colour. It is a very subtle bit of colour just there. I think I'm going to come on top of that with some shimmery crystal effects. Just a little bit that's going to make those wings shimmer just slightly. See, that will need to dry. I think the shimmery crystal effects is something that you could forget you have. It's tucked in the back of a drawer. But again, I'm not necessarily going to pick that up very well. The camera doesn't want to pick that up. But as that dries, you will get a bit of a shimmery, glittery sort of effect, as well as a slight 3D effect on those wings. Now, I'm a bit concerned that these are very white and very stark in compared to the rest of the card. So I haven't added any more ink to this brush. I'm just going to rub over the top of it, and hopefully you can see that that's just toned it down slightly. Giving it almost a sort of vintagey, tea-stained look. And I think we'll do the same with this sentiment piece. That's better. It doesn't look so whoa in your face now. A little bit softer. Now, how are we going to arrange these? I think we sort of want them like that. These two pieces here I'm going to stick together. I'll just add a bit of glue down there. I'm almost sticking so that that flower sits on over the top of the flower at the back. And then I'm going to pop a dimensional on the back of that so that that is raised up slightly from those, and when I come to stick them down, I'll put dimensionals on here. And glue on here. So we have got a bit of a 3D effect going on there. Let's quickly put these together. Twine and things. Oh, gold. No, I think I'm going to go linen thread. So let's put this paper on here. And we'll stick this to card base. Then we'll have our square of cinnamon cider paper with its bumblebees on. And we'll bring our grungy, torn and embossed honeycomb strip. It feels, it's got great texture to it, as well as the fact that it's coloured and things. I'm going to fold this in half. Let's tie a big double bow, and we'll have that going on as a bit of nonsense behind our doily. So I think we will put some doily and some dimensionals on the back of our doily as well. Some doilies on our back of our dimensionals? No, that won't work. Let's go with dimensionals on the back of our doily. Take a glue dot and stick that down in there and tweak around. Oh, needs to do that with that end. Oh, what have I done with my little bee? Ah, there he is. Let's stick that doily on there. So with this linen thread coming out underneath, we have our grungy flowers to come on the top. And I think I've sat that on top of my bee because the colours run a little bit there where the crystal shimmery effects was wet, but that's okay. We can work with that. So some of these grass coming out of this way, and grass coming out that way. Stick my little shimmery, let's give him a glue dot, I think. Have him coming in at the top here, a little bee. Stay wonderful. I think we'll have that coming over either side just here. So obviously that's my message to you all for today. Stay wonderful. I'm sure you all will. We'll take off some of the backs off some of these dimensionals and then they'll stick, won't they? There we go. I've got my light cinnamon cider blend here. Just going to add a bit of colour. This is one of the very vanilla ones. And it's come in with two little ones as well. So that's, because it's the dark, it's quite subtle. So it's not as dark as the cardstock or the doily. But it does come out actually a little bit darker than the pale papaya. So that works quite nicely. And let's put a few of those on. It's always worth remembering with any of these embellishments that you can colour them up. So there we have sort of layery, grungy, quite a vintagey looking card using those stamps and dies and papers and embossing folders. And sticking to the colour palette in the papers. Obviously, you don't need to do that. You can use different papers, different backgrounds, go as wild as you like. But for that one, we've stuck to that background colour. Right, move that to one side. And then I'm going to bring in, here's something I prepared earlier. So I have taken just a scrap piece of, it happens to be crumb cake, it really doesn't matter, a scrap piece of card, and I have die cut lots of bees from it to give me sort of the beautiful stencil. Now I need to find myself. Cut myself a piece of 10 by 14.4 cardstock. Let's just anchor that down. If I can find the end of my tape. So this is just some low tack tape. So what I am doing is I'm taking it and sticking it on my jumper and arm and just making it even less low tack. So it is very, very low tack tape, hopefully. I'm just going to use that to anchor down that bit of card. I'm going to take another bit, just do a little bit more defluffing. And then I'm going to rest that over there and just curl that under a little bit there so that that's not interfering. We can't see any of that purple tape through our bee stencil. Let's anchor that down. I'm going to get myself another blending brush and some pale papaya ink. And I'm going to go over my stencil with my one over all of these gaps. We will just blend ink over the top of all of that. I've got a bit of misty moonlight here. Just want to touch. So this is sort of the sections of these bee cutouts where wings would be. I'm going to come in with a tiny little bit of misty moonlight. Wing, two wings, wing at the top, wings at the side. Okay, so that's just a little touch of misty moonlight. And then I've got my cinnamon cider here. Just going to go in with almost a little tickle of that on each of the bees. Okay, this is all experimentation, people. Let's see where it takes us. Let's take that off of there and off of there. And we now have lots of bee shapes on our piece of cardstock. I do need to be careful that I don't get inky finger marks everywhere. Right, what we can do now is, it says with great optimism, I'm going to take these bee stamps. So let's start with this one and ink it up in basic grey. And obviously these aren't clear stamps, so it is going to be, we got a overstamp just there. Never mind, we can work that out. I'm just going to sort of peeping round the side for best guesstimate. That's all of those. Next bee. You're almost colouring the stamp and bee in before you stamp it. You could, of course, use your stamp apparatus to position these. And then last but not least, come in with our final bee. There we go. A whole lot of little bees that are coloured in. Actually, come around the edge now with this misty moonlight. Not actually added any more colour to this brush. I'm just working it round. There we go. So that's quite a cute little background with all of those stamps. Obviously, you can do that with any coordinating dies you've got. So if you've got an image with a coordinating die, you could make yourself a stencil like that. Going to need to do something about my my boo-boo just there. Let's bring in a nice bit of misty moonlight cardstock. I might do actually decisions. May even go white. Once again, the brain is ticking as we decide, yeah, I think we're going to go white card base and a misty moonlight matte on the top. Cut this at 14.4, 10. Then I am going to emboss it with this Hive embossing folder. Hi Glenda. Once more we need our plate number 1 and plate number 4 as we run this Hive embossing folder through. Really attached itself to that card. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section of this off. I'm not going to quite use it all. That will solve my problem of bees on the bottom with over stamping. No, might not have a doily. We'll come in with some of this denim. So let's add our bees across there, leaving a bit of a border on the bottom. We'll try and make that border a little bit less wonky. Bring in some bring in a little bit of denim ribbon. I'll stick that to a basic white, thick basic white card base. You can hear the texture in that embossing, can't you? Right, let's have some You're the Nicest, I think. I've got a bit of cardstock that's big enough for that. I have we will Right, just looking around, I can find my yellow blending brushes, but not my blue one. Oh, just here, straight under my nose. And let's find our this is the point where everything is now going missing. Where's my dies gone? Bossing folder, blocks. There you are. Let's bring in some of these pieces. I think we'll have pale papaya. Cinnamon cider. And let's go with a bit of basic grey, possibly. Not quite wide enough. Okay. Just going to tear that so that I've got enough there. So I'm just going to run these bits through my machine. Dropping dies on the floor. And here's one little die. I'll poke those bits out in a second. And a little slice of a bit of basic grey grass. Let's pop these pieces out of here. So they are really quite delicate sort of pieces of foliage and things. They're not chunky. Let's bring out this cinnamon cider piece. So I'm going to bring some mini dimensionals in on the back of here. Hopefully they will just about fit in. hopefully a bit of glue to the back of this one. It bridges that ribbon. And this one. So layering them up. Bit of cinnamon cider just there. Ooh. Tie that in a bit of a knot to come over the top there. Let's pop that on with a glue dot. And I think we'll just finish that off, hopefully. Bring in a few of these basic grey dots. Pop them in the centre of her. So it's quite a nice little technique using your dies to create a stencil and colouring in them and stamping on the top. And then this one is quite a grungy little layered up. As I say, those are keeping with the colours that are in the paper. There's absolutely no reason why you need to do that. If you want to make these much brighter and much prettier, for want of a better word, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't do something like this in bright pinks and oranges and greens and whatever you like. But yeah, a couple of different techniques, and especially sort of highlighting a little bit that 3D embossing folder, which is just beautiful. So those are a couple of cards that we have created with our Honeybee home stamp set and coordinating dies, which are now all higgledy-piggledy-jiggledy on here, which of course is a part of that much greater Heart and Home suite. Just here that we've been looking at. And if we go back to our card on Wednesday, earlier in the week, you'll see that that is much more sort of pretty florals and things. So a very different sort of colourway, but still using those stamps, still using those papers, still actually sticking to the colours in the paper. So really quite different. And these have quite sort of almost masculine feel about it, particularly that one. You could really do make that sort of a much more masculine card. So I hope you have enjoyed our little play this week with the Heart and Home suite. Obviously, as always, if that is something that you would like to get your hands on and you are here in the UK, then do get in touch or do head over to my shop and treat yourself to that. And if you do that before Monday evening, if you spend £45, you'll get the choice of a free celebration item. And of course, if you want it all, let's just have a look. How much is the Heart and Home? So the entire suite is £146. So a little bit more than what you can choose in terms of your free your £130 if you have a starter kit. But if you didn't want things like that, Memories and More things, you would soon be bringing that down, I think, easily within reach. So you could have the whole suite plus 2 extra stamp sets for £99 if you so choose. So don't forget to do that if that's something that you're interested in before Monday. Other than that, take care of yourselves, and I will see you all on Monday. All being well. Have a lovely weekend.